What's up, everybody? Tonight we're going to talk about Ricky Hatton and also talk about the recap of Crawford versus Canelo. We'll be coming right back. Welcome to another episode of Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. I am Bean, and wherever you are in this world, hopefully you're having a good day. Shout out to the local team here in Cincinnati. Who Dey Cincinnati Bengals. Another win, so we'll take it. You know, the last two wins ain't been the most prettiest wins, but like they say, a win is a win. Also, y'all, for the people here in the tri-state area of Cincinnati, Ohio, In Your Face magazine got a little article of me on the inside with my brother JC. In Your Face magazine. Also holla at Lando Jones on Facebook, Kev McFly, and their partner up in Cleveland, Ohio, for putting that magazine and article together for the month of August in this year of 2025. All right, so I also want to give a shout out to my guys, Ozzy Catering, OZZY Catering, locally here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And if you use the services of Ozzy's Catering, please tell him that Ring Walk Boxing Podcast sent you. Also, I want to give a big shout outs to my guy up in Columbus, Ohio, by way of San Diego, California, Sergio. My guy I used to work with up in Columbus. We stayed in contact. He's a real cool dude. He called me up after the fight, man, and he was just saying, hey, Bud did his thing. He's a Canelo fan or whatnot, but he definitely gave props to Bud Crawford. And we're going to be talking about that today in this segment. But before we jump off with the recap, we're going to do a little tribute in the memory of Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton was a champ in the UK who was currently residing in the area of Manchester and died at the age of 46 this morning. It was all over the IG and Twitter and things like that. So rest in peace to Ricky Hatton. And we're going to just do touch a little bit on his some of his resume and some of his fights and stuff. Hey, shout out to Didi, my cousin down south. I appreciate you and much love, cuzzo. And I'm not very clear on the cause of his death at the moment. Some people are saying some type of cardiac arrest issues, but I'm not sure. I guess more developing news may come out at some point. All right, so Ricky Hatton, his record was 45 wins, 3 losses, and no draws. Of his 45 wins, 32 came by way of knockout. From the year of 1997, when I was 17 years old, y'all, all the way up to 2007, Ricky Hatton was on a winning streak. He had no losses from 1997 all the way to 2007. His first loss came by another legend, an American legend, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Handed him his first loss in 2007 by way of a TKO stoppage, a technical knockout that he received from Floyd Mayweather Jr. Okay, so in February 5th of 2009, Ricky Hatton's his last real notable name opponent was another legend who also fought Floyd Mayweather, Manny the Pac-Man Pacquiao. I hadn't seen the fight in such a long time. I kind of ran it back earlier today just to kind of refresh my memory. Um, Ricky Hatton had a very awkward style, but so did Manny Pacquiao. They both had an awkward style, but Manny Pacquiao to me was quicker, and I think the fact that he was a southpaw, it was really giving issues to Ricky Hatton when they had fought back in 2009. Now, I believe it was in the first round, Ricky Hatton was dropped twice by Manny Pacquiao. He was caught twice and hit the canvas. And eventually in the second round, he was caught with a left hook flush and it knocked him out cold. In 2 rounds, Manny Pacquiao knocked out Ricky Hatton out cold. He also fought the likes of Paulie Malignaggi, and this is actually the fight that he won by TKO victory over Paulie Malignaggi. And he also fought in 2005. In 2005, he fought Costa Tszyu. Now, Ricky Hatton was he brought the action, and he brought that relentless pressure that we known him to have. You know, he has a very awkward style, like I said. He has nice speed, and he has decent power. So he just out there putting it on Costa Tszyu. And he dropped Costa Tszyu with a body shot in the mid rounds. Now at the end of round 11 versus Costa Tszyu did not come back out for the 12th round. He pretty much had conceded and quit against Ricky Hatton, and that's when Ricky Hatton had became the IBF light welterweight champ back in 2005. And as I was saying earlier, unfortunate circumstances that he passed today. Ricky Hatton, aka the Hitman Hatton, at the age of 46. So salute to Ricky Hatton, rest up champ, and condolences to the Hatton family. On the zone yesterday, I wasn't able to see the full card because I had a lot of things going on, but I did get to see the main event, the rematch with Lewis Crocker versus Paddy Donovan rematch. Round 3, Crocker dropped Donovan with a punch, but it was kind of like Donovan's coming towards him with the momentum, and that shot kind of was like one of those looping shots that caught him right back here, and he went down to the ground. So I don't think it was really like a solid punch, but more of a momentum coming forward, and then Donovan, fell. So he gets back up, and they resume fighting. About a round or two later, there was a perfectly placed punch by Lewis Crocker, I'm sorry, that dropped Paddy Donovan again. They both was very technical, back and forth, placing their punches. But But that clean left hook in like round 4 or 5 by Crocker dropped Donovan. The fight ended up going 12 rounds, and Crocker won by split decision. And now Lewis Crocker is the IBF welterweight champ. So salute to Lewis Crocker with his victory over Patty Donovan. Okay, let's also talk about some other fights. Like, of course, here soon we'll have the exhibition with Tank Davis versus Jake Paul. You know, a lot of people frowned upon that, but at the same time, exhibitions, as explained by Cam J, and shout out to Cam J for sure. You know, exhibitions are something that have been out for a long time in boxing. So it's nothing new. And I think I talked about it in my last segment. I only have a problem with an exhibition if it intervenes with an interim or a belt on the line, a person's a unified champ or a undisputed champ, and they put that on hold to fight an exhibition in the midst of holding up boxing. I don't be feeling that. But if you're a retired fighter like Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, who were also brought up in an exhibition as well, there should be no issues with people having a problem with it. And like somebody said on another podcast, just don't spend your money on that fight if it's not something you're interested in. If you're not interested in seeing Mike Tyson and Floyd fight in an exhibition, no one forces you to pay for it. So, you know, just keep it moving. Now we know building up to that main event with Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez, that some people had issues with the fact that Boots Ennis was a sparring partner for Canelo Alvarez. But the response from shout out to his trainer, Bomac, he was saying, look, Boots Ennis is not Terence Crawford. He's not Bud Crawford. And he's also saying, basically, at the end of the day, Boots is not stepping in the ring for Canelo. Canelo has to fight Bud Crawford. So that makes all the sense in the world. And as we saw last night, a clinical display of boxing. You know, the hit and don't get hit. But it wasn't that Bud was moving around so much like William Skull, where he has a low output of punches, he's trying to survive. Nah, he was moving around and using the ring, but he was also in spurts. He would step in close quarters and duke it out with Canelo. It was a masterclass, if you ask me. And I'm personally, I'm an Errol Spence fan. You know, I have to put it out there and keep it 100. If you go back on my old segments on YouTube, I did a segment with my cousin B Bub, and I kept saying Spence is going to beat Crawford. He's going to be too big. He's going to be too powerful. He's going to wear him down with his body shots, and Bud won't be able to take the punishment that Spence is going to put on him. Well, I ended up being wrong. Bud was showing how elite he was. He was grabbing all the tools out of his tool bag. We all know he's a switch hitter. He does that very well because he showed that last night against Canelo Alvarez. He fought him pretty much southpaw. I want to say the whole fight. He fought from the left-handed stance. And you could see the confusion every time that Canelo went back to his corner. You could see the confusion, the body language, and his face. Like, man, I don't know how to, like, I can't really get to his body like I want. I can't really wear him down. I could never pin him against the ropes. Like, all the little things you want to do, and you know you want to do them, but Bud is not allowing for you to do them. That's ring generalship. That's ring IQ. Bud is a master at that. I give him credit for that. I just give credit where it's due, you know? Bud Crawford is definitely a one of the top dogs of this era. Now, some may debate whether he's going to fall into the all-time greats. Maybe he'll keep fighting. Maybe he'll go down to 160 and fight guys down there. Maybe he'll fight Charlo. Maybe he'll fight at 154. Maybe, you know, I don't know what's the next step for him. But I feel like whatever he does next, he's going to show, improve, and keep showing improving how good he is. He's going to be too much to handle for them guys, I believe. If he can step up at 168 and school Canelo, a lot of those guys at 160 and 154, I see Bud giving problems to. But you know, styles make fights too, so we'll just have to see what the future is going to hold in regards to the next move for Bud Crawford. But I'm definitely I'm going to keep it real. Bud Crawford is definitely one of those fighters. He's grown on me. You know what I mean? At first, like I said, I'm an Errol Spence fan, so I really wasn't rocking with Bud on that type of level. But from a standpoint of a boxing purist who just likes the sport, I love to see Bud get down. I like to see what he's going to do next, you know what I mean? Because whatever he's going to do, you know it's going to be something spectacular, you know. And last night, he definitely put on a clinic against Canelo Alvarez and became undisputed at 168. So congrats to Bud Crawford out of Omaha, Nebraska. A few times in different interviews with Bo Mack, they were saying how, hey, we're from Omaha, Nebraska, and we had to get it out the mud. You know, they had to get it out the mud, and boxing is one of the few things that was probably going on in an area like Omaha, Nebraska. That's people don't even think about Omaha for real. So yeah, man, you know, definitely a good fight. I'll probably go and run it back and watch it again just to kind of dissect it even more. But Bud Crawford did his thing, you know, he did his thing. Now some people might say he's a top 15, but a lot of people, which would obviously be Bud fans, most are going to say he's a top 10 guy. But if you feel like he's top 10 or top 15, you know, a lot of things are subjective. But hey, state it in the chat on why you feel that he is a top 10, or if he's not top 10, what is the criteria that's needed for him to fit in that demographic? Let me know, because I would like to know. Everybody looks at different things, and shout out to my guy, Canada's Boxing Channel. He was saying that in one of his older shows, older episodes, on his different metrics that people use, you know, to put a person at a Hall of Famer status or a all-time great status, a GOAT status, you know. So, hey, I give Bud his props, man. It was a job well done for sure. Now, what do y'all think about Sebastian Fundora versus Keith Thurman? October the 25th at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. Fundora, WBC junior middleweight champ, known as the towering Inferno. against his opponent one time, Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman, he's nice, man. He got nice hands. But Fundora, the issue with most people that fight him is his length. He's so tall. He's so rangy. He got the extra long arms. He can close the distance because he's so tall and got long legs as well. Fundora gives a lot of these guys issues. So it's hard to blueprint on how to beat him. So for Keith Thurman, the last thing that Keith Thurman or anybody who fights Fundora wants to do is let your emotions overtake your mind. You got to kind of keep a cool head, because otherwise you'll get off your pivot, you'll get off your game plan if you let your emotions take over. But I want to know if the fight actually gets over, if it actually happens, because it's being said it's going to happen, but some people think that for whatever reasons that Keith Thurman will pull out this fight. I don't know why people are saying this, but if we do see that fight, I want to know your predictions. Keith Thurman versus Sebastian Fundora. Now, also on that undercard from last night, the undercard was cool in the way that Cam J said it was good, but not great. I would agree with that assessment. And Billy, his fight was good. I enjoy seeing him every time he gets in that ring. Up and coming, out of Canada, a Canadian fighter. Christian and Billy always brings those type of fights where they're action packed. He's gonna go to the body of his opponent, downstairs, upstairs, and he remains undefeated with 29 wins. Last night he had 29 wins, no losses, but last night was his first draw. Some people say Billy edged the fight, but it was definitely a back and forth fight, and they both were dishing out some heavy leather. That's a fight that I would like to go back and watch again, probably, because that was one of the better fights of that card. The Jermaine Franklin fight, I like Jermaine Franklin, but he was struggling with the physicality and the height and the reach of his opponent was giving him problems. For those who don't know Jermaine Franklin, he fought Dillian White, had a controversial loss to Dillian White over in UK. Many people felt that Jermaine Franklin won. So he fights another UK fighter, Anthony Joshua, and loses that fight by decision. He's never been stopped. I don't think he's ever been dropped. But last night, he had his third loss. Or actually, last night he won. So he has 2 losses. But people felt that he lost the fight last night. But he was given a decision, a unanimous decision last night against Ivan DeChico. I did not agree with the decision. And I know that my guy Cam J was on his posting feed saying that it was a robbery. I definitely felt like Jermaine Franklin lost. He lost that fight last night. So he definitely got away with one. The fight, 2 fights prior, he actually, in my opinion, beats Dillian White, he's given a loss, but now he loses a fight and was given the win. So, boxing gets crazy like that sometimes. Where the decision doesn't necessarily go to the right victor. Also, something I saw, I guess, the fact that they had to fight in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium with Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. I saw a face-off with Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz. So of course the curiosity is going around heavy that we're hoping that they'll start getting negotiations going. I got my fingers crossed because I just want to see some good boxing, whether it's in the end of 2025 or the beginning of 2026. I would love to see Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz. If that fight happens and it comes to fruition, I feel like Andy Ruiz would win. But then again, Wilder can line him up with that right hand. But Ruiz got a good chin too. So it's kind of like Ruiz has been dropped. So I feel like Wilder might connect. And he may drop Andy Ruiz, but Andy Ruiz has never been knocked out. Every time he goes down, he gets back up like a coiled spring. He'll fall down and get right back up. So that's an intriguing matchup if it happens. So if you see this Deontay Wilder or Andy Ruiz, we want to see y'all two get in the ring, because that's going to be a good fight, man. All right, let me check out these chats. Adam, you said Crawford could have went for the job a few times and chose not to. I was kind of surprised. He normally would have. Oh, you mean he could have went for the KO? Yeah, man. I was talking about that. So shout outs to Big Zoe. We were on the phone saying how in round 11 you saw you could see him get buckled. You could see Canelo got buckled. But I think what was going through Bud's mind was stick to my game plan. Don't let me get overzealous. Because think about it. You could do like the Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz back in the day. Got your man kind of staggered or looking hurt. And then you try to go and pounce on him. And he's wounded. But that wounded guy might be the guy that throws something back at you and knocks your lights out. So even though Canelo was looking kind of not himself because of all the punches he was taking and his body language and the confusion you could see in his face, I think if Bud tried to come and got a little too greedy and try to get the knockout, I'm not saying it would have happened for sure, but it's a small chance it could have backfired. So I think he kind of like just said, you know what? This is round 11. I got to make it through round 11 and one more round, round 12. I'm not going to gamble this. So he kind of stepped back and didn't go for the knockout. He just got back out in good range and kept him on the end of that jab. He just kept the jab out all night. And that jab was beautiful. It was kind of like I was telling somebody, like Larry Holmes or Muhammad Ali, as far as just jab, 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 using that jab to set up everything else. It was definitely a like the bull versus the matador type fight. Styles make fights, and that was a two good style matchup. Cam J, you said the the Chinko got robbed badly. Yeah, man, he definitely beat Jermaine Franklin, fam. He definitely won that fight. Um, Man, you know how boxing gets sometimes, man. Bad calls, bad decisions, man. Also, I've been seeing a lot of Kid Austin videos circulating. You know, just him working out, him training and stuff like that, looking very good and looking like he's trying to stay ready so he doesn't have to get ready. Man, whoever he fights next, man, hopefully it'll be like a Lamont Roach Jr. or a Shakur Stevenson. You know, I want to see all them guys fight each other. I would love to see if Lamont Roach didn't fight. Um, we know he's not going to fight Tank right now, but if Lamont Roach wasn't fighting somebody like a Shakur Stevenson, I would like to see Lamont Roach fight Kid Austin, Floyd Schofield. That to me would be a good fight. Also in news, I saw that excuse me, I spoke on it on my last segment. Adrian Broner will be back. Adrian Broner, 35 wins, 5 losses, and a draw, by which 24 were by way of knockout, versus Haskell Rhodes, 32 8-1, by which 16 came by knockout. They're scheduled to fight November the 8th at the Fire Lake Arena in Shawnee, Oklahoma. Anybody ever heard of Shawnee, Oklahoma? Let me know in the chat. I heard of Oklahoma, but never of Shawnee. Must be a small town. I don't know, man. I wish the best for AB, but man, it's one of them things. I want to know y'all opinion. It's one of them things to where you wonder: is he there just to get the bag, or is he there obviously to get a bag, but also to really put his full potential into it? You know what I mean? Like, are we going to see the AB that we saw against Maidana? Even though he lost that fight, he showed so much grit and determination. Even though he got dropped for the first time in his career, he got off the floor and started duking it out with Maidana. He knew he had to sink or swim. I wonder if we'll ever see that type of determination from Adrian Broner ever again. So I hope that we would see that version of Broner that gets in there and gonna give it his all, versus a Broner who's just there just to pick up a check, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna just do enough to get through a fight because I know I'm gonna get that bag. I'm gonna get these M's, a couple million or whatever, and I'm good. We're gonna see, y'all. I want to know y'all opinion. Is AB, is he back, or what y'all think? Adrian Broner, aka the Can Man. Anybody can get it. In his words. So I also looked up some footage of Haskell, his opponent, Haskell Rhodes, the upcoming opponent for Adrian Broner. He had fought Kid Austin, aka Floyd Schofield. Now, when they fought, Kid Austin, he dictated the pace from the jump. So he basically had Haskell Rhodes going to the beat of his drum. That's the last thing you want to do when you fight somebody, is let them set and dictate the pace of the fight. Now Rhodes was on the back foot majority of that fight, but he even got staggered by Kid Austin in the first round. And as we know, Kid Austin does have respectable punch power. You know, he's still that real young kid, and he has that respectable punch power. Now in round 7, Kid Austin drops Rhodes with a beautiful left hook. Rhodes got back up to his feet, and that was the second time he was dropped in round 7. Now Rhodes, he pulled a veteran move after getting in trouble for the third time in round 7, and he tackled Kid Austin to the canvas so he could survive round 7. Now in round 8, Rhodes was dropped by a body shot and gets up again. In round 9, there was a clash of heads between him and Kid Austin. So it cut Austin's face. Now it goes the full distance, 10 rounds, and Floyd Austin won by a unanimous decision. And like I said, he had dropped Rhodes like 4 or 5 times in that fight. So this is definitely, I feel like it's definitely a winnable fight for Adrian Broner. It just depends on what version of Adrian Broner we're going to actually get. And I'm hoping that I can reach out and get AB on this podcast one day before his fight with Rhodes. Now, I also want to bring up the fact prior to the Canelo fight with Bud Crawford is that Canelo was always saying there's weight classes for a reason. He kept trying to reiterate the fact there's weight classes for a reason, as if Bud is going to be too small for him. And he had to eat his words, unfortunately. Like the old cliche, skills pay the bills, like Boxing Hacker had said earlier on Cam J's show. Shout outs to Boxing Hacker. Skills pay the bills, for sure. Now, the other fight that was on that same undercard for Bud, the Boacek versus Adams fight. The first round, they was fighting in close quarters, and Adams delivers a plethora of body shots. Boacek taking punishment, but in the same aspect, he was dishing out punishment. Round 2 and 3, back and forth with plenty of action. The corner of Adams is telling him Boacek cannot take body shots. So they were kind of adamant and telling him, like, look, he can't keep taking these body shots or whatnot. So it would have been in the best interest of Adams to keep zoning in on his body. So that ended up being a pretty good fight as well, because the fight with Jermaine Franklin, like I said, it was kind of lackluster. It really wasn't exciting as I thought it would have been. So the best fight, in my opinion, one of the best fights was probably the Billy fight, from a standpoint of just not a lot of technical. It wasn't really technically efficient, because they're not trying to be in there and be like these smart fighters playing chess or whatever. They were just in there duking it out. They were just in there slugging it out, both sides. So if you want an action-packed fight and you like those toe-to-toe action fights, the Billy fight was definitely the type of fight you would be interested in. Okay, and actually the Brandon Adams win, that was a rematch with Sergey Boacek, and Adams won by a wide margin, of course, in the rematch. So yeah, it was a good card, but as Cam J would say, it was good. It wasn't great. I would have to agree with that for sure. Um, Boots in this fight with Lima. Ah man. Lima is, I feel like, I understand he's gonna be fighting at 154. So he's gonna take his warm up. Now, think about this. Boots Ennis is gonna fight at 154, and he's fighting Lima, which is pretty much like a somewhat of a warm up fight or whatever, tune up fight. Now think about this. Bud Crawford did just the opposite. He went right up to 168 with no warm up, straight to undisputed versus Canelo. Like I told somebody earlier, who does that? Who does that? Who do you know would be inactive and not fight for a while, and they go straight up to a person like Canelo? Bud Crawford did it. So that to me kind of sets him apart from a lot of guys, even in the history of boxing, because I don't think anybody's ever went straight up that many weight classes, not been active, and then not only that, to turn up like he did and pretty much dominate Canelo. Like, people beat Canelo before, but normally people don't dominate him. I feel like he even dominated Canelo better than Bivol, and Bivol was at 175. I felt like Bud Crawford dominated him more so than Bivol did. Mike Ware, you said Franklin lost. Absolutely. He definitely lost. You said Lamont fighting Cruz. That's right. That's right. So Lamont Roach is fighting Cruz. So when I get off of here, off this live tonight, I'm going to have to do some, look up Cruz, some of his fights, and do my film study, because that'll probably be an interesting fight. So, Mike Ware, what do you think about the main event? What do you feel like about Bud Crawford? Do you put him as a top 10? Top 15? If he's top 10 or top 15, I want to know what is your reasons on why you rate him at that level. Mike, where you said, I have heard of it's a reservation, I think. Now, you said the reservation, is that Shawnee, Oklahoma? Where are you referring to the fight venue for Adrian Broner versus Rhodes? Now, also, JP, Joseph Parker, I've seen a couple of interviews, so we know he's going to be fighting in the meantime, since the Usyk situation has been a circus. He's going to be fighting the young, hungry Fabio Wardley. Now, technically, from a standpoint of skills, Parker is definitely, he's more seasoned. He's had better experience because he's fought bigger names. Whereas Fabio Wardley does have a puncher's chance and does have punching power. But I definitely feel like Joseph Parker would win. But it's always that slight chance that if Fabio Wardley lands the right punch at that right moment, he can knock you out. as we saw when he was down on the scorecards versus Justice Huey. I want to say it was his right hand that saved him. Kind of like similar to Deontay Wilder. You have a lot of power, so your power is like your get out of jail free card, like the Monopoly game. Get out of jail free. Well, one thing about fighters like that, you don't want to rely on that. Fabio Worley needs to make sure he is doing his full training. So make sure he's doing his conditioning, whether it's swimming, whatever cardio he has to do. Make sure that he's using his left hand, not as a rangefinder, but as an actual piston, sticking that left out there and making it hurt your opponent, making it set up and keep that opponent off balance with that left jab. So as long as he does his road work, he's not taking shortcuts. He's doing his basic fundamentals properly. I feel like the more he can do and the more he doesn't set himself short, the better off he's going to be against Joseph Parker. Because just having a right hand or being somewhat limited, that's not going to be good enough for Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker is the type of guy you need to have all your ducks in a row when you step in the ring against a seasoned fighter like him. But let me know y'all opinion in the chat. Will Joseph Parker prove to be too much for Fabio Worley? Also, be on the lookout for Danny Garcia, set to return October the 18th in Brooklyn, New York, according to Ring Magazine. So we will be seeing Danny Garcia, and hopefully it'll be a resurgence for him. Shout outs to Aaron Davis. What's going on? Shout outs. And shout outs to everybody that came through tonight. Make sure you please hit that thumbs up button. Please take this link or whatever off of YouTube and pass it along to any family members or friends or gym, your gym friends, your homies at the gym. Give them that link and tell them, hey, check out Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. It's free. And definitely hit that thumbs up to help the algorithm or whatnot. And each show I'm going to try to do something different. Do a better show next week than the show I did today. All about progression. Also, one last thing I'll talk about is Anthony Joshua. So he's healed up from his elbow injury, and Eddie Hearn and different ones from Team AJ, they're saying that he'll probably fight in January or February. They haven't made a solid opponent yet, but will it be that Yoka guy, or is it going to be? I don't know who it would be. Because whatever fight he does fight, they don't want it to be too much of a banana peel for him. He's been out the ring for a while. He had the injury. His last fight was being knocked out by Daniel Dubois. So you don't want to put him in there with somebody too dangerous. So if it's Yoka, maybe that'll just be the perfect fight just to give him a confidence builder. Then he can start fighting guys like Efe Ajagba, Martin Bakoli, Um, see, Mark McCauley, F.A. Jogba, rematch with Daniel Dubois eventually, to right that wrong. So he has a couple options in the heavyweight division of who he can fight. That's the good thing about it right now with the landscape of it. So we're going to see what's going to happen, y'all. And speaking of Terence Crawford, to touch base on that one more time, was that I wasn't feeling the Turkey Al Sheikh, the thing I saw on X, which is Twitter. But he pretty much was saying that I wonder if David Benavidez can go from 175 and make 168 again. First of all, why would he want to go down? He'll probably weight drain himself, because I'm pretty sure David Benavidez is a tall guy. And if y'all remember, he was a really big guy and he started losing a lot of weight. Remember, he talked about his journey of weight loss. He's probably walking around at like what? 100 at least 185 pounds, maybe 190 pounds, his walk around weight. So he's fighting at 175. Why would he drop all the way down to 168 to fight Bud Crawford? And why would Bud Crawford even want that fight? His team shouldn't want that fight. That's just not a good look. It doesn't make sense. I'm not feeling that one. But Crawford needs to stay away from that. He did enough stepping up to fight Canelo. There's no need for him to fight a guy who walks around at 185 or 190 pounds and to be fighting a guy who's a light heavyweight. They're getting very carried away. They're getting a little too carried away. So I didn't like that notion at all. But let me know y'all take on that. What y'all feel about that. And Mike, where you said David Benavidez walks around at probably 210 pounds. So that's even worse. Yeah, that's way too big for Bud Crawford. We're being unrealistic now. It was far-fetched that he was going to 168. So to fight a guy who's walking around at 200 or 210 pounds, insane, man. Insane, man. All right, y'all. So I want to say shout-outs to everybody. And remember again, if you do use Ozzy's Catering, let him know Ring Walk Boxing Podcast sent you. He caters for, different events, at weddings, etc. Also in the description area here on YouTube, if you're interested in merch, if you're in the Midwest, where I'm from, Ohio, Illinois, or Kentucky, East Coast, where it gets cooler in the fall time, winter time is here before you know it. We got hoodies, the Ring Walk Boxing hoodies. So just check out what we have. I was just showing my homeboy from Woodlawn, Taymont, yesterday, the online store. And shout out to Mark. He said he's gonna cop him a hoodie. So Mark Rogers, shout outs, bro. I appreciate you. Shout out to Maceo and all the fam. All right, y'all. So we're going to wrap this one up tonight. And we'll see you next week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the USA on Ring Walk Boxing Podcast. And I'll catch you on the next round. Peace.